Hey, Nelson, alcoholic addict. That's not my real name. That's my pen name that I use here at LOL Sober. I heard a speaker at a meeting recently who said something so profound that I am still thinking about it. I think about it every day. He said the real tragedy, once active addiction has begun, is that it kills your imagination. You begin to think that life cannot go on the way that it currently is, but also that a life without drugs and alcohol is not possible. You cannot see a life with or without the drugs, and there's no imagination left. And oof, man, I bet there's some heads nodding right now because I certainly am. I get that. I was terrified, absolutely terrified of taking away the thing that was killing me. But yet I was also even more terrified of what life would be like without the substances. I remember thinking that even if I managed to not drink or drug for a while, even if I broke the cycle, there's no way that I could do it for very long. God, what a terrible prison cell to be put in, but that's what active addiction did for me. It killed the imagination. I thought that was so profound. And with no imagination, that meant I had no hope. No hope whatsoever. No hope means the candle is just about to burn out. You know, in one piece of our sober literature, that moment of total despair is described as pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization. And I've always thought that's just the perfect summary of active addiction. And that's what it looks like when there's no imagination left. Ugh, God, it hurts to think about. I remember those days all too well. There was just so much darkness. And yet I had so much light around me. You know, I had a good job and a great wife and two awesome kids who were very little. A lot of joyousness happening around me, and I just had this cloud above me. And they were nothing but, my kids were like, they were nothing but imagination at their ages. And here I was at my bottom. And when I think about that time of my life, November of 2008, as I went into rehab, I don't know what my imagination levels looked like. I do remember a funny conversation I had after my first 12-step meeting where I raised my hand and I announced that I had a few days sober and I was new and I was looking for phone numbers. And a guy came up to me and he gave me a big hug and he said, "Make sure you stick around for the cash and prizes." And I remember thinking, "Oh, cool. They must do some kind of raffle here for new people. I hope it's a lot of cash and prizes that they're giving out because I'm freaking broke." And I got pretty close with that guy over the coming weeks, and he was one of those guys who he just oozed imagination and hopefulness and optimism. He was the kind of person who, when you were standing there beside him, it felt like he was lifting you up. And all he was doing was just being him, shining light, you know? And I eventually asked him a couple weeks in, I said, "Hey, what actually are the cash and prizes?" And he smiled and he said, "This right here, that's the cash and prizes." And he pointed at himself and then at me and back and forth. It was the thing that we had between us. So the cash and prizes were that intense, beautiful connection that alcoholics and addicts make with one another. And honestly, what price tag do you put on that? I don't know if you can put a price tag on some of these relationships that I had, including that one. They're, $1 million. I don't know. Maybe they're worth more than that to me. Honestly, I wouldn't take $1 million for that stuff because those are the relationships that cost nothing but effort and love. There's no bill that comes due, and they cost nothing, but they turn my entire life around. So those are the relationships that start to spark up that old imagination machine. And those are the people that I looked at and I thought, hey, maybe this is possible. And God, what a gift that is to just see other people living it and be like, okay, I share a lot in common with that guy, and maybe I can share this in common too, that you go on to live a happy life. And so I guess that means the way to pay it forward is to try to be that person for somebody else. I go to meetings sometimes and I say, "Oh, this sucks and this sucks and this sucks," but I've met a couple of people recently that are newly sober and they can't see it yet, and then they do. And boy, what a beautiful thing that is, to see somebody who starts to have that imagination back. And sometimes it takes a few weeks or even a few months, but they get there just like I did. I got there eventually, and so I'm gonna try to be. I'm gonna try to be one of those imagination resuscitators today. Let's do that. Let's be imagination resuscitators. I don't even know if that's a word, but I'm gonna try to do it. So thank you for letting me share.